Namaskar. I have a question here by Soumyama. In the last class, you were mentioning Atman is the witness, which is the enlivening force. It has got no interest in whatever you perform. It is like electricity. It acts like Upadrashta, a witness, Anumanta. What is Anumanta? Permitter, Bharta, supporter, Bhokta, enjoyer. All these are based on the three types of actions: selfish, unselfish, and selfless. S1 light, please. Finally, supreme for the selfless actions. All right. Now, my question is, don't have to explain. In the context, question ketungo. I have to read the whole Mahabharata and say, therefore. Why you have to say therefore? Why directly come to therefore? No. So my question is, does the Atman act in the same manner for the three states of gunas like sattva, rajas, and tamas? Now, just for the benefit of those who haven't come, the previous satsang, we mentioned that Atman plays different roles as it were. It doesn't, it just appears to be based on the nature of your actions. When your actions are extremely gross, extremely selfish, Atman is a witness. Means it does not, it has no interest. It just observes what you're doing. But as the nature of actions becomes, can you get to that previous classes slide? That would help for those who did not take a note. But when your actions become more unselfish, the nature of the self starts becoming, it starts permitting you, it starts supporting you. And the example we took is like a father. What is a father's role to a son? When the son is childish, when the son is not taking responsibility of his life, the father says, I'm fed up of you. How many times to tell you? You just say what you got to say and then you are a witness because you've done enough. But as the son starts behaving himself, starts becoming more responsible, the father starts permitting. I give you the license. I think you're in the right direction. Go ahead. As the son becomes more, takes the initiative, becomes more conscious, more responsible, what is a permitter? The father takes one step back and see, how can I support his actions? This boy is struggling. Perhaps he needs some support from me. So in that sense, the Atman or the self starts from being a witness, it becomes a permitter to a supporter. And as you evolve, you start enjoying bhokta, you become the enjoyer. Means you start reveling in that joy or bliss. Ultimately, you become the Supreme Lord yourself. Means you become the commander. So we said these 5 roles, as it were, are classified into the 3 actions. Now, why do you want to understand whether it has got to do with the gunas? Are you doing any research? You have understood these 5 into 3, completely digested. You have become the Mahatma. Strive to become Mahatma. How does it matter? It is connected with Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. Tomorrow you'll ask me, how is it connected with Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra? Next week, that question will come. You get where I'm asked, where you're getting. What is the intention of connecting it to the 3 gunas? Hey, give me the remote fan. Half the things are not done correctly. Why you have to connect with the three gunas? You can. In philosophy, you can connect head to tail. You can connect anything. But what is the objective? What is the intention of relating these five aspects to the gunas? Is there any reason? சும்மா கேட்டீங்களா அப்புறம் No, I want to understand. You're asking a question. What is the, if you want to equate, it is difficult to categorize actions into, connect sattva, rajas, tamas into selfish, unselfish, selfless. Very difficult. Because we are talking about the, one is the action, another is the nature of your mind. They're two different things. Though there's a connect. So you can say selfless actions and unselfish actions are sattvic. Unselfish and selfless are sattvic. Rajasic actions are selfish. Tamasic are no action at all. So you can somehow try to fit them into these categories. But however, I wouldn't want you to mix that concept into the gunas. It will only confuse you. So you're encouraged not to do it. Okay? Right. Now in the, again, just a quick overview. In the 6th and the 7th verses, he gave the progressive ways to reach God. The karma, bhakti, jnanam, which are the mainstream spiritual activities. One who does that, karma, bhakti, jnanam, offloads the desires, reaches a state of uparati, mental withdrawal from the world, then reaches a state of dharana, which is open-eyed meditation, dhyana, single-pointed meditation. So 6 and 7, he talks of the progressive ways to reach God. In the 8th mantra, he gives meditation. And what is meditation? It is a single-pointed thought to keeping your mind aloft on a chosen mantra under the supervision of the intellect. If your intellect does not participate, it is not meditation. Then he says, if you can't meditate, go back to abhyasa, go back to karma, bhakti, jnanam. Make yourself worthy of meditating. If you can't do that, he says, in the 10th mantra, he says, you surrender to me. Consider me as supreme and say, don't think of I and my, think of thy. Whatever work you do, if you're able to identify with the larger cause and surrender yourself to the totality, don't worry. The totality of providence will provide for your well-being, will take care of you. Why have you to put yourself unnecessary burden and anxiety by worrying about your own limited needs and ends? He who made it new knows what it needs better than a man like me. Remember the poem, The Olive Tree, we spoke of. You plant a tree, whether the tree needs sunshine, whether the tree needs rain, whether the tree needs frost, whether the tree needs whatever it needs. Whom am I to decide? Let me plant the seed and do what I need to do. Nature will take care of it, isn't it? So you do your part, be an instrument, mere instrument, without developing an egoistic notion of I and my. That is what was said in the 10th verse. Okay, now let's get on with the 11th verse, please. Those of you who don't have the 12th chapter can follow the screen. Athaitadapyashaktosi kartum madhyogamashritah sarva karma phalatyagam tatah kuru yatatmavan. Athaitadapyashaktosi kartum madhyogamaśritaha sarva karma phalatyagam tatah kuruyatatmavan. If you are even unable to do this, so he has gone to the lowest of cadre. From the highest to the lowest he is catering. If you fellows are unfit even to surrender பண்ண முடியாத, அப்புறம் what to do? Then taking refuge in the union with me, renounce the fruits of all actions, so self-controlled, yatatmanaha. So he's telling, practice self-control and do what? Taking refuge in the union with me. Ashritaha. Ashritaha means taking refuge. You seek shelter. Madhyogam, the union with me. Renounce the fruits of your actions. One of the most beautiful words is sarva karma phala tyagaha. It's actually one word, but you can just break it up into bit by bit. Sarva is all, karma, action, phala is fruit, tyaga, relinquish. Renounce the fruits of your action. So the lowest of practices you are being prescribed. The highest is karma, bhakti, jnanam and meditation. The lowest is renouncing the karma phala. So he is suggesting to us, renounce the fruits of your action. So what is being recommended and what we are acting is exactly the opposite. What is the modern attitude of people? The modern attitude of people is they are extremely self-centered. All that they are motivated is result. They are all the time result-oriented, anxious for the fruits, anxiety for the outcome of the action. What drives them is only the fruit of action. So to a person who is so egoistic and self-centered and result-oriented and fruit-driven, he is saying, renounce the fruits of your action. Perhaps it's a very impossible task for a person who is so anxious and attached to the fruit. Even this seems to be impossible. If this also not possible, pack your bags and go home. You are unfit for spirituality. Kada inke Japali? What else to say? I don't know what else to say. No, I am not, it's not me saying. The Lord is giving the sermon. He's saying, you fellows, you can't even do this. You feel you're unfit. You have to at least do this so that you are prepared for higher spiritual practices. So now you see where we are. Unnecessarily, we are consuming ourselves with so much of anxiety, so much of concern of the results. Who will be concerned of the results? Who will be concerned, unduly concerned of the fruits? Selfish. What type of people are unduly concerned of the fruits? Feels who is a doer. I'm repeating so that those who are online can also hear. Who is it who will develop that undue anxiety? Only a person who has not done his job well. A person who is uncertain of the result will be concerned of the result. A fellow who has done his job far better, far more than what he has expected, means he has given 200% of effort. Why would he be concerned of the result? I know for certain. He's so sure of the result because he has planted the mango seed. Mango fruit only has to come. I'm worried whether will I get a guava fruit this season or will I get a papaya fruit this season? Uncertain. Means he did not know what seed is sprouted. Only when you are unsure of the seed you sprout or the seed you sowed, you are concerned of the fruit that sprouts or the fruit that yields. A fellow who has done his part 100%, he's done his duty 100%, why should he be concerned of the fruit? He is not carried away by the fruits of action. So one who doesn't do his job well is worried about the fruit. One is anxious of the fruit. One is interested in the fruit. So the advice we are being given is renounce the fruit of action. Renounce it. Lay your attention on the action than the fruit. The problem is when you are thinking of the fruit all the time, what happens to you? There is anxiety. Then when you're anxious, what happens? Your efficiency goes down. You're unnecessarily dissipating your energy into unproductive channels. It's no use you worrying about the future because future is unborn. I'm reminded of an experience of one of my colleagues, a little senior, but we're almost the same batch. He was concluding and I was just about into the course. So my senior, you could say. The parents come and send their children to the ashram, 3-year course they send. And rightly so, the parents are concerned, what after 3 years? And guests keep coming and they keep asking, they keep interacting with the students and things. One fellow was held by one guest. He was constantly pestering him. What after 3 years? What after 3 years? He kept answering, we are no worried. We are carrying on. We'll do seva, whatever. But he was not convinced. He was nagging him. And he wanted to give an answer which will keep him shut. He'll not bother him for the rest of the. Said, my future is so bright that I can't even see it. So much glare, it's like he's looking at the sun. It's too bright. I can't even describe it to you. He didn't talk after that. If this one is coming this way, he went that way. There's no pagal. What is he talking? So you will find all sorts of people worried. We were never worried. You ask me, have I ever been worried of my future? Never, ever. I'm not trying to impress, but it is something I'm so sure. There's such a certainty in the path, certainty in the journey. There's such comfort and assurance and joy in the process. Why would you be interested in the proceeds? So right now, I tell you, I can't describe the elation or the joy or the satisfaction with which I'm sharing this knowledge. I don't think there can be any greater satisfaction than the very action I'm performing itself. Than me worried, what would be the outcome of what I'm telling to you all? Would you take this knowledge forward? In any way, would you support the cause? Would you be a patron? Would you be a benefactor? How will I be benefited? Why should I be worried of that, all that? If I am enjoying the process, why would you be interested in the proceeds? Let proceeds come when they have to come. So the first fundamental principle Vedanta teaches you is to live and work and remain in the present. The first fundamental principle of Vedanta is action. Vedanta talks of action. Where there is no action, it is not, you're not practicing Vedanta. That's what Vivekananda told, no? He told those young minds who came and asked him, teach Vedanta. He said, go play football first. You fellows are all tamasic fellows and you want to learn this knowledge. This knowledge is not meant for tamasic people who put on a robe and think they are spiritual. You've got to be a dynamic action. Throughout the Shastras, action. And one of the fundamental principles of action is remain in the present. So that mastery of the intellect to keep your mind in the present or any chosen action. It has to be here. If mind goes away from here, you're violating the first and the fundamental principle of action, which is life. Action is life. If you can't discipline that, if you can't achieve that, you have not even taken the first step to spirituality. This is the last advice is giving, no? From mantra 6 to mantra 11, the last advice is giving is this. Before this, I don't think there's anything lower than this you can practice. What else is lower than this? I don't know. So you should be very, very conscious. You should not be interested in almost to the point where you become disinterested. मुझे नहीं चाहिए, मुझे फल नहीं चाहिए. ऐसा कैसे नहीं चाहिए बोल रहे ना? ऐसे कैसे नहीं चाहिए मैंने क्या? अरे ऐसे कैसे बोल रहे हैं आप? हाँ, फल आएगा, अपने आप आने दो. कर्म करिए बस. That's what he's saying. Karma karna chahiye. Do your karma, do your action. Fruits will automatically come. See, nobody can take away, nobody can influence the law of karma. One thing that will be with you into the next janma is your law of karma. Not only this janma. Whatever good you have done, you will face the consequences. Whatever bad you have done, you have to face the consequences. This birth and next birth. Sometimes you see people in extreme situations. Sometimes, at traffic lights, you see people are literally without limbs. They're on the small boats with 4 wheels and they are just dragging themselves on the road. They're completely physically unfit. They can't carry on. And yet they are surviving on whatever paltry that they can make. When you look at them, only thought that comes is, what have they done to deserve that kind of experience? What have they done? Kya kara hai un logon ne to deserve that kind of a punishment? So it will haunt you into the next birth. Beware. Next janma, you will not know what you have done to deserve it, but you have certainly deserved it. That's the reason you got it. So if at all you must be afraid of one thing, is the karma. You can't run away from that consequence. So why are you worried of the fruit? See, if you are conscious of the karma, you must be taking care of the cause, not the effect. If you really want to take care of your fruits of your future, take care of the seed. Take care of the action. Automatically the fruit will take care of. But the modern mind is very corrupt. The modern mind operates in which way? The modern mind works in a spirit of minimum work, maximum return. All the time they're only interested in gaining some return. So how less I invest, how much more I can get benefited. What can I take more? I give less, I take more. This is the anti-spirit of yajna. And what are we told here? Give as much as you can. Don't worry of the result. Exactly the opposite. Perhaps sounds very impractical for some of you, but it's one of the best practices to practice. Now, in the 18th chapter, I don't think we have 18th chapter, no? 18th chapter, 2nd verse. I'm giving you the context where it talks of it. In the 18th chapter, he says, let me chant this verse. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Kamyanam Karmanam Nyasam Sanyasam Kavayo Viduhu Sarva Karma Phalatyagam Prahustyagam Vichakshanaha. Now, what this verse is saying, sages understand sannyasa to be renunciation of desire and action, the relinquishment of fruit of all action. The wise declares tyaga. Now, what is being said here is, how do I come out of this? So, if I were to describe the spiritual journey from a beginner is a yogi, as you advance, you reach a state of a sannyasi, and then you reach a state of a jnani. Don't worry of the terminologies. In various contexts, it is used differently. In some contexts, he uses a yogi as an advanced seeker, sannyasi as a beginner. But in the context, Jnani is a state where you have no desires. That's the ultimate goal. Sannyasi is a state where desire and action. I'll explain. And yogi is one. What does it renounce? Huh? What does a yogi renounce? The fruits of your action. Now, a spiritual beginner renounces the fruits of action. That is what is being prescribed in verse 11 of chapter 12 of 18th chapter, verse 2. 18th was a chapter talks of these two. 12th chapter, verse 11 talks of yogi. He may not call him a yogi, but he's telling all of us to renounce the fruits of action. But what do you carry on? Action continues. Don't stop action. Whatever karma, whatever dharma you have to perform, keep performing. While you're performing, renounce the fruits. Now, of the two, which is easier? The first and two? Harish, if I can ask you, of the first and second, which is easier? Vijayji, you must change the color of your hand. It is unseen. Or you can change the board on your backdrop. Whichever is cheaper, you please change. You're following, Harish?
Yes. Yes.
Of the two, which is easier?
The first one, Guruji.
Why do you say that?
Because some of the desires are very, very strong and prominent. It takes a while to eliminate the desires or reduce the desires.
Okay. So the desire remains, but you can at least renounce the fruit. First
Correct.
level. Second level is?
The sannyasi, renounce the desire.
Where you have reached a state where the desire itself drops. So it is easier, perfect. Thanks, Harish. So first is easier to drop the fruit. Then comes a point where you drop the desire itself. Then come to a point where there are no desires. This is how you evolve. And all through you are maintaining action. See, action is the means. That's the point. And when I say action, we're talking of karma yoga. That is what the verse also says. The verse says, union with me, it says, no? Yoga, you must surrender, you must take refuge in me. The union with me. That's what the verse suggests. Madhyogam. The word madhyogam means the union with me. So while you're acting for the higher, renounce the fruits of the lower. That is the essence and the first step of Karma Yoga. If you don't do that, you will be pestered with your worries of the fruits of your own labor. Self-inflicted suffering. Edukku? Why? Unintelligently you're suffering. You're anyway not going to get the fruit. By worrying, will the fruit come to you? Why would you not get the fruit? Because you have not performed your action correctly. So that action determines what fruit you get. Now worrying is additional to the not getting the fruit. So best is do and say, forget it, it will come. If it has to come, it will come. If it has not come, I don't deserve it. If I deserve it, it will come. When? Time has to come. Why worry about it? That kind of an assurance. And you keep doing what you have to do every minute, moment to moment, in the present. You always remain in the present. Wherever your action is, you be there. I tell you, it's some of the most simplest practice and most important practice. And for that, what is needed is a sound intellect. If you are not conscious, if your intellect is not there, you don't know when the mind has slipped. The mind slips because that is its nature to slip. But if you are alert, you bring it back to the present. Quickly bring it back. Yes, Setuji, something? Pass the mic, please.
Guruji, now in this recent NEET exam, people have, without any effort, paying money and buying the result. And I believe now the latest news is many coaching centers have been also involved, where the teachers themselves have involved in this type of activity. And we also see in life many people don't do action and claim others' actions. They cheat the fruits of others' action, they claim as their own.
How is that possible?
See, he says it happens even in scientific studies. They claim someone's results as theirs. They think they many don't know. They claim, they even publish papers. So same way, even in an organization, someone else works and he is silent. He doesn't claim. His colleague or his boss says, I have done it. So
no. If one is subjected to those kinds of where you have lost your intellectual property, you have done steady research and published a journal or a piece, and somebody steals and says, mine. Huh?
No, what I mean say is, people who are indulging in those type of actions is the lowest and the most punishable of actions. Those who are cheating others and taking credit for their actions. It's this at least being anxiety about fruit of action is little better than that.
No, it's like saying, it's okay, I'm only having diabetes, I don't have cancer. It's saying like that. So are you suggesting that it's better to encourage my diabetes and celebrate that I don't have cancer?
No, I'm not saying. I'm saying that is so much of thing much higher than this is happening.
So be it, sir. There are greater diseases than diabetes. But should I celebrate that I don't have other disease, or should I take care of the existing disease? What would you advise to me? I come to you. Sir, should I celebrate I don't have cancer, or give me a means how do I get rid of the diabetes? What is your solution? Sir, why are you worried? There are greater diseases than diabetes. Celebrate. Would you say that? We can't say that. Sir, worrying about the fruit also is as criminal an act. It is going to cause extreme agony and pain and hell to you. Should we not deal with that? That is what the advice the verse is giving. Now, in the context, you have said that, let's say I become a victim of somebody's malpractices. I suffer. He is only an instrument to dish out what I deserve. Why has it happened to me?
Karma.
Because my karma. So let me accept it and deal with it.
This kind of same thing.
Huh?
I have repeated same thing in the past.
Yes. I would have done. Remember the example of centipede I gave last week. I pluck the legs of an innocent creature, that centipede, I lose my legs. There has to be a cause for every effect. So if it is happening, I have deserved it, I got it. But since he has done an action, he has also sown a seed. He also will be subjected to that in some karma in the future. If I'm hurt, because I must have hurt somebody. But the fact that he's hurting me, he will be hurt by somebody else in the future. That chain reaction goes on. That karma will have to function action to action. It can't be that you prepare a spicy dish and my stomach is hurting. I have eaten, but why did I eat? It's my choice. But it's not because you prepared. You become an instrument of my suffering. But if you intentionally prepared for my suffering, then you will be karma. Oh, I did not know that we have to prepare sattvic food. I not supposed to prepare rajasic and tamasic food to an ashram. Outside, I can eat extra spice I can add, not in ashram food. Okay. So it's not possible that somebody else pays the price for your actions. You will pay the price of your actions. So whatever malpractices are happening, end of the day, it justifies because law can't go wrong. But whoever is doing it, they will be accountable. Just because the law has not caught them so far, that does not mean they will not pay the price. They will pay the price. Don't worry.
Only the person who brings it is only a messenger.
Instrumental messenger.
It's already written in my name. Being delivered.
Have nothing to do with it. It will happen. So the law of karma is individualistic, so it's not collective. Individualistic keeps settling account. Like imagine I go down the road, somebody comes and hits me. And I develop, I meet an accident and I suffer. That fellow who hit me doesn't know me. He may be reckless. But next 2 months I'm bedridden. Why am I suffering my karma? Because he hit me without being conscious and reckless, he will face the consequence of his actions. So it's like that, we keep accumulating. Yes, sir.
Guruji, the third stage, Jnani, we're talking about it. When I have completely, and I don't have any desires, the sannyasi stage, obviously selfless actions. So when I don't have desires, where is the role of action into that? I don't have any desires, even the good, bad, I don't have any desires at all. Then absolutely I require just a minimal actions for me to survive as this body.
Even why that action? Your statement only I'm quoting. By your words, you say there should not be any action at all, right?
Correct.
So there are actions known as actions done after attaining realization. A man of realization doesn't necessarily mean he will die at the moment he realizes. No. They may live a lifespan. Remember last session I gave a graph. You were there last week, weren't you? We took an example of, I think a question asked an example of Christ and Gandhi. So we said you may attain realization at 50. You may die at 80. So there is a lifespan where you have no desire. You know, that lifespan from 50 to 80 is known as acquired velocity. Can anybody explain the term acquired velocity? Srinivas Reddy garu. What is acquired velocity? Engineer, Chapandi. Meer engineer? Meer engineer, na? Mere Chapandi. Then you can educate us. What is acquired velocity?
It could be, Guruji, acquired velocity. And if you take the example of 80 years of living and 50 years is gone through that and attained the realization. So whatever he acquired, the knowledge, the punya.
Explain in science. Philosophy, I'll explain.
So if I explain in science, then it could be difficult to understand. Guruji. Like we have an hydraulic energy where the cylinder has been operating. So then I go into that language.
Momentum gained.
Sridhar, please try, sir.
Momentum gained.
See, you stop accelerating a vehicle at one point. Beyond that, you don't have to apply the acceleration. With the same momentum, it takes you to that stage. It's called acquired velocity.
So when a vehicle starts from zero, it had acquired certain velocity over a period of time. At some point, let's say, when your vehicle is at 90 kilometers an hour, you have not looked and the fuel tank has completely dried up. So there is no further propulsion possible because there's no fuel in the car. Then what happens? From a person outsider, he does not know that the fuel is empty, but he still sees the car moving. At a point where the petrol is completely dried, will the car come to a grinding halt, Vasantama? No. At the point where the petrol goes off, you're pressing the clutch and there is no propulsion coming, there's no accelerator coming. Will the car stop immediately? At the point where there is no further acceleration, will the car stop immediately? No, it will not stop. So it may go, imagine if there is a freeway and there is nothing interrupting you, it may travel for another kilometer or so, or more. So the distance traveled after the fuel finishes till the car comes to a grinding halt. The third party who's outside the car, he does not know that you are moving without propulsion. It will move, it will go. So there is that distance traveled from the fuel being empty to a point where it comes to a grinding halt. That distance is the life of a self-realized man. That is the life of a jnani. He has no desire to live. He has no desire to go through pain. He has no desire for following. He has no desire for anything. But he continues to do his karma, which was the acquired velocity, which was acquired at birth. That acquired velocity is the velocity acquired at birth, and that acquired velocity is known as? Ramji, what is the term we use for the acquired velocity in philosophy? Now, this is where I'll come in. Srinivas garu, idi em cheptanu nannu. Adi acquired velocity. Now, acquired velocity is known as?
Prarabdha karma.
Prarabdha karma na prarabdha vasana?
Prarabdha vasanas. Yeah, prarabdha vasanas. Yeah.
The prarabdha vasanas. So that vasanas determine the longevity of your life. Okay, sir. So now so we don't understand life of a realized soul, or we can't understand what it is upon realization. But all we can say is you will perform even a height of a sannyasi. What is sannyasi, sir? Renouncing, what did we write there? Renounces the? You renounce the desired in action. What is desired in action? What actions are we talking about? What have you renounced? Desired means what? Desired means what? Huh? Are? Desire means ones which have the desire. So what are the? Huh?
The desire and we are moving into the action.
What action are you moving into?
So whatever the action we are doing, in that, even though we have desire, we are trying to renounce the desire in the sannyasi state.
You've got rid of the desire. You're renouncing the desire. So when they say renounce the desire, what is the nature of the desire? I'm asking. Selfish and huh? Please think. What is the nature of the desire you're getting rid of? Put on the board.
Desire itself is selfish.
Vijayji, what is the nature of the second sannyasi that you see on the board?
Well, if it's renouncing the selfish desires, but also that it's a recognition that these desires are doesn't bring you any long-lasting happiness. So you understand the limitations of those desires.
My question is, what is the nature of the desires that you are getting rid of as a sannyasi? Desire ridden, what is that nature?
Not sure. So other than being selfish and limited desires
Selfish?
and limited desires.
What is limited? Selfish are
Limited meaning it's not for the greater good, right? It's for our own limited lifestyle or requirements.
that is selfish. In fact, when we say, Gayatrima,
both selfish and unselfish actions.
both selfish and unselfish have to be got rid of. Because unselfish desire also is a desire, no? That is also a desired action. That is when you get to the selfless actions. Unselfish action also binds you to karma phala. If I do good, I'm bound by the good deeds, no? By the good merits. The good deeds I do, I get good merit. I do bad deeds, I get bad merit. But how do I get liberated from both the merits and get to desireless? Only when I perform selfless. So what you're renouncing the any desired action. So anything that is prompted by either a good desire or a bad desire, you will not want to act on it. You don't add karma. That is how you will keep burning off your desires. The fuel gets burnt off. So there is no question of unselfish or selfish is no. First, yogi takes care of selfish. Yogi's job is to take care of selfish. Sannyasi's job is to take care of unselfish, if at all any residue selfish. Then you reach jnani, where they're selfless. If at all residual selfish is there in a sannyasi, but a sannyasi takes care of unselfish, no desire action at all. So you know the elevation is like you're going on in a lift in a skyscraper. And imagine if you're having the view of that from the lift, a transparent glass is there. And as you keep going, the same view, your perspective keeps changing. What is the view from the 5th floor? What is the view from the 50th floor? What is the view from the 100th floor? You can see a grander vision. So that's what is like from yogi to sannyasi to a jnani. Sir, mic use panningla.
In other words, Guruji, this unselfish, dropping unselfish desire-ridden action means it becomes selfless.
Selfless. The last, sir, remember, how do you would know it. How do you differentiate between the bondage of a selfish action and unselfish action? What is the bondage? Both bind. In the Kathopanishad we learned, no? Last satsang we learned that unselfish actions and selfish actions both are binding. How do you differentiate between both? We give an example, isn't it? If we compare a selfish action to be like a barbed wire.
Yeah. This is golden barbed wire.
Imagine if you are being tied up with a barbed wire. That is selfish actions and selfish karmas, which is papam. If you are being bound by a golden rope, still you are bound. It's only you're bound by the punya of the good deeds you have done. Both are binding.
This unselfish desire-ridden means he does a seva, but he has a motive of getting award or kirti or anything.
Not for himself. If he does for himself, he's selfish. Oh, I am giving a check to a cause. They must give me an award. They must recognize me in public. They must announce me. They must perhaps carve my name there. Huh? And if I give greater the amount, I will be top of the list. So when people read me, my name will come on top. So for that reason, I'm giving little more. Alright? If you're giving for your self-recognition, it's selfish. But you want nothing for yourself. You genuinely want to do them. But there's a desire to help.
Desire to help.
Desire to serve. There's a desire to serve. There's a desire to help. You keep acting on the desire.
Even anxiety also.
And there's anxiety and all the, any desire action comes with anxiety. But the thing is, the same action can be done without desire. When action becomes selfless, when actions become motiveless, when they're desireless, you do. Okay, can you tell me what is selfless, desireless, motiveless actions? What are they called? What is the term for desireless? What is the term for selfless? What is the term for motiveless? What is the term? That's the Sanskrit word. Nishkamakar. Then what action would you perform?
Atma Vidya.
Huh?
I selfless.
Yeah, but what are selfless actions known as? Selfless actions, such actions are known as? Ramji? I know you're trying to say something.
Vairagya,
Vairagya.
or basically detachment.
No, why have you to bring Vairagya or detachment here? We are asking what is the term? If I am not having a desire or motive in my action, what type of action I should perform? You will be acting on obligation.
Oh,
The seemingly innocuous word obligation is selfless actions. If I am obliged to do, I'll do it. Why am I doing it? I'm ought to do. Why? I took a choice of an action. Now I'm obliged. So I have to do. Panida hanu. I can't escape that. I can't avoid that action. मुझे करना ही चाहिए. फिर क्या पा रहे हैं उसमें? कुछ नहीं पा रहे. काम है. If you have is it kamya karma? It is no desire. There is no desire. There is no motive. There is no selfishness. Why are you doing it? Obligation. So just a simple example, this very context of action. I come meticulously, come here 11:30 and teach this knowledge to you all. It could be a desire prompted action, or it could be an action driven obligation. I have an obligation to teach this knowledge. Sunday, the Gita has to be taught. This is my obligation. I took a decision at some point in the past, I am obliged to teach. So you may come, you may not come. But I will come because I have an obligation to teach. So less or more, no crowd or more crowd, reward or no reward, recognition, no recognition, following, no following, it is immaterial to me because I'm doing my dharma. Surya Bhagavan wakes up every morning. Is he concerned if people are doing Surya Namaskar or doing Sandhya Vandanam? Does he get depressed when he realizes nobody is doing Sandhya Vandanam to him? Huh? It's like that. I have come with a full preparation to teach, but I get very dejected. I'm getting very emotional. Why? Because no takers. That is what desire does. But if I can keep switching my actions to doing obligation. For example, the other day Vijaya said she got an invitation from her friend to attend 25th wedding anniversary of a friend. So my immediate question was, am I obliged to come? Is it my obligation? She said, you are not obliged to come. I didn't go. How are you going? Because it's an evening function, and I didn't want to say, take a cab and go. I'm not doing my duty as a husband. How are you going? Is somebody there with you? Where are you going? What not? If I had to go and drop her and pick her up, I will do my dharma as a husband. It is my obligation. Even if I had to go as an accompany to be there with her, I may be totally disinterested in the entire drama. It has happened once or twice. You go and see the whole drama going on. My God, it is the most torturous thing to go through. No, not driver. Going there and sitting and seeing the drama. Driving is a joy. Never mind, I enjoy driving. Anybody want driver job? Please give Pushpama a driver job, please. I am a jobless fellow. Anywhere, drive your cars. I can drive you. I can clean also properly. When you sat, you gave a compliment. No, who is maintaining the foundation car, Guruji? Yes, who's maintaining? Nanda maintain pandra, I told. So car also maintain. I maintain your car well. I'll wipe, clean, drive well, safely bring you back. So driver job I'll do. Guruji, अम्मा आपको driver चाहिए तो बोले हम हैं. हाँ, अब आप आ जाएंगे. So, no vacancy. Even for driver job, I am not unfit.
But sir, just one.
She went,
Yeah.
her friends picked her up and things. Ramji, sorry, Mimal Marchpemo.
Yes, sir. You are not obliged to remember me, but
Sorry, sir. Correct. I'm not obliged. It comes back, karma comes back to you, is what it is.
no, I was just asking that.
That is what I'm saying. Correct.
Sir, Guruji, this Adi Shankara's life, he made a promise to his mother when he wanted permission for sannyasa. Mother asked one request from him. Wherever you are, you should come and do my funeral. So when Adi Shankara came all the way and did the funeral when he got the news, because it is obligation committed even before sannyasa, but he wanted to honor. He is not supposed to be present for mother or father's funeral otherwise. What,
having adorned that robe as a sannyasi, they don't.
The entire village boycotted. No Purohit came for the funeral because sannyasi should not
Sir,
do.
you are obliged to use the mic, sir. The mic keeps dancing. So mic is have to be here.
So they say entire Kaladi, that place, no priest, no one came. He is also, so he had to do it alone because they said you can't do, you should not do.
See, here's an example, a context. The height of selfless action misunderstood. Therefore, they say don't judge a person by what they do. You cannot judge. Now, I may be very selfish sitting here. I can be unselfish. There's a possibility I'm doing selfless. How can you grade me? You can't grade me. So you miss the point. It is not by the robe, it's not by what you do. What is that prompts you to do? So selfless, there is zero motive. You do only on obligation. And obligation means intellect. Selfish and unselfish means mind. Your actions are driven on the mind. That is the fundamental difference between selfish, unselfish, and selfless actions. So if you are not obliged to do it, you will not do it. You will do it if you are obliged to do it. You may come and say, Sir, Guruji, what is this? You are attending a party and function? I went as an obligation. I may have no interest in the function. You say, oh, Guruji, attending functions and parties. I'm not trying to please or misplease you. I'm doing my dharma. But that action can be taken out of context and misbranded. So one should never judge. That's why I say don't judge an action like that. Sorry, Ramji.
No, sir. I was just trying to understand obligatory duties are usually based on some relationships. You have to do certain things in the context of certain relationships. And we all do that. I mean, like you have driven the car and taken Vijayamma there. Similarly, we do many things. But whether our real intention is obligatory or we are afraid that tomorrow we will not get the lunch, we will still do it, right? So
Can we have this
that-
discussion after the class, please?
no. I'm just saying that
You are revealing a lot of secrets of mine. A lot of hidden secrets can't be revealed like this. Let me teach Vedanta here, please.
Yeah.
Ah.
So I'm just trying to say that obligatory duties of a jnani should be of a different order. I mean, what are those things that a jnani will do as obligatory duties, which is the height of his spiritual journey? What could be those actions?
We can't predetermine the actions of a jnani, can we? Because the lifestyle of these realized souls have been diverse. You compare any Mahatma, their lifestyles have been very unique to their personality.
Yeah.
So they carry on the momentum which they were living. Let's say for discussion's sake, sir, next month I attain realization. None of you would know because I continue to remain the same. I may continue to do the same actions which I did. But nobody would know that I've attained realization. I'm now sitting here teaching this knowledge. You don't know I'm talking from 60% realized state or 100% realized state. Does it make a difference to you? You would not know because, pardon me to say that, you may not have the eye to gauge me. You can't judge my spiritual level. I can be 100% attained realized person, or I can be 90% attained realized person, or I can be 50%. End of the day, you're mesmerized by what is taught. You're enamored by the knowledge. How does it make a difference, 50 or 100? You don't know. We can't judge. So it's a gray area as far as we are concerned. But what the Shastras are saying is, whatever obligatory duty you have to perform, you keep performing without any attachment or anxiety to the fruit, you will reach that state of selfless actions. Do we have chapter 6, verse 1? One of the best definitions of a sannyasi. You have your understanding of a sannyasi. Now you may have to redefine that. Chapter 6, verse 1. Fabulous, fascinating verse. I'm just waiting for Gayatri Ma to share that, then I'll chant that explains her. So we can't predetermine what action should be performed, but whatever action they do, it is done with dexterity. It's done selflessly. So here's the verse. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha. All of you chant. Anashrita karma phalam karyam karma karoti yaha sasannyasi cha yogi cha na niragnir na chakriyaha. He says, the blessed Lord says, Ramji, can you read for us, please? Can you unmute, Ramji?
The blessed Lord said, he who does his bounden duty without depending on the fruit of action, he is a sannyasi and a yogi, not one without fire and not one without action.
Karyam karma anashrita karma phalam karyam karma karotiha. No qualifications, no prefixes. He who does his bounden duty. Now you determine what your bounden duty is. Without depending on the fruit of action, you are a sannyasi. So any one of us can be a sannyasi, any one of us can be a yogi, doing what your duties are in the world, without worrying of the fruit, you have reached that sannyasa. Now you know how much of mental anxiety you've got to the fruit, you know what attachments you've got, you know what mental bondages you've got. To the extent you liberate yourself of those mental shackles and perform your dharma and karma, you are a sannyasi. Na Agni. means there must be the fire in that action, not the one without fire. A tamasic fellow has no fire.
A tamasic fellow anyway has no action. But if you have, if your obligatory duties, sometimes you tend to perform without interest. I mean, in the sense that you may not have that josh to do that duty. So that's what I think perhaps he's saying, that we must do it with full fire, with full josh. Yeah.
Enthusiasm.
Enthusiasm.
Yes, Vijayji. Now I can see your hand.
Hare Krishna. I have a couple of questions. One is,
Who is that has?
sorry,
Who has?
I have a couple of questions.
Who is that?
Who is the I?
Renounce that I and ask the question. I have, obviously you will have, who else will you be asking on behalf?
Okay. My mind has. So according to this, basically the lowest level is that of a yogi to begin to walk the Vedantic path by renouncing the fruits of the action. That's a very high bar for someone. Like if somebody wishes to walk the Vedantic path, and if this is really the bottom level, gosh, it takes lifetimes to get to this particular point. So that's one. And two is, what category would this scenario fit under? Like, for example, if I'm driving and if I see a beggar on the street, something moves me to help this beggar out. I could be on the next signal and nothing moves me to help the other beggar out. So I'd like to think that it's Krishna that's moving me, okay, help this person out. And if there's no feeling that comes in, then I just don't do anything. So what category would this fall under? Because in both cases, there's definitely no fruit for action. There is no selfish or unselfish action here either. It's coming from a selfless place, but at the same point, I'm not acting in certain areas and I'm acting in certain areas. And in both cases, there's no obligation. It's just that an inspiration comes, a feeling comes to do a certain action. Otherwise, I don't do it. So where does it, is it sannyasi? Is it jnani? Like, where does that fit in the?
Where did that impulse come from? Where did that thought come from? You know you're not obliged in any way to alleviate the suffering of that beggar. But if you find yourself obliged in some way, is just by unwinding your window and dropping a few pennies in his bowl is going to serve him? Or is it you think you've done service or disservice?
No, that is a separate question altogether. With whether we're paying money for, we could be giving some sweets to some kids, or a bottle of water, or some food. Either which way, it's something that we're offering to.
But
it's an act of love that we're
so
providing.
That act comes because of identification, right? Out of a feeling,
yes,
out of an emotion, out of an impulse. There has to be an act of kindness or an unselfish thought there. Otherwise, if you say obligation, how am I obliged to do it?
Yeah, not obliged.
You're not obliged. Therefore, it has to be unselfish category. Because clearly intellect says I'm not obliged to do anything there. But let's say you're driving past a deserted area and a person you see, his car is broken down and he's asking for trouble. He's in trouble, he asks for help. And there's nobody around but you driving past that point. You are obliged to help him. And if you drive past without attending to him, And whatever suffering he goes through after you leave, you will face the karma because you did not do what you are expected to do. It's your dharma to help him. I say, I don't care. If you are unmindful of your dharma, ignorance of your dharma will not protect you from the consequences of your actions which you are supposed to do. You see that? How acutely the karma works, how precisely it works. So you better know what you're expected to do. Like when I'm mopping the floor, it is a duty of the person in malls to put a placard or sign say wet floor. If I don't and I slips, I face the karma because that fellow fell. He is falling because of his karma. But what of my reckless action, I'll face karma. So it's my duty, it's my dharma, it's my obligation. So when you find yourself questioning an act and you say you're not obliged and still you're doing for some reason, it has to be an emotion, it could be an unselfish in the context. So it's an unselfish thought. Unmute Vijay.
Okay, so the second question I had was the Jnani. So if you're renouncing selfish and unselfish actions, therefore you've become selfless. How is that different from a Jnani who has no desires? Because obviously if you're selfless, you're no longer acting for yourself. So how does, like, it's very nuanced difference between a sannyasi and Jnani. I'm not able to really put them in two different boxes.
See, sannyasi is still dealing with the desires, but he is dropping one by one. Jnani, he's reached the state where there is no desire at all. It is the goal. In fact, you can say Jnani is a self-realized person, a person who's attained moksha. A sannyasi is dropping the desires. He knows that he has desires, he's dropping them. A yogi is still having the desires, he's only dealing with the fruits. Only karma, phala he is renouncing, not the desire. Sannyasi is dropping the desires one by one, one by one, one by one. He understands the futility of it. He has the capacity to drop. He keeps dropping them. Jnani is no desire. He's already reached the goal.
So the difference is, so the difference basically dropping and dropped. That's the difference.
Yeah, the different, yeah, dropping and drop. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Haresh?
Guruji, you gave an example about the obligation about passing a lonely road where somebody's car is broken down. And I passed by the person's car, a broken down car. The obligation is, if he's not looking alarmed or he doesn't seem concerned, do I still have an obligation to ask him if he needs help, or he has to wave his hand out and that's, at that point, I should be obligated to him? This is just one of the two questions.
I don't feel obliged to answer this question. I am very sorry, Haresh. I am not obliged to answer this question. And the crowd here also are with me. In fact, they are smiling and laughing when I said that. So I have the support of the crowd here. I would want to use your discretion to come to an answer to that.
My answer would be, I will voluntarily stop and offer assistance.
Then he will say, mine MYOB. I stopped because I want to see the scenery. I didn't ask
Then
him. I wanted a
then
break.
you-
I wanted to stretch my legs. I wanted to do susu. So I went out and I wanted to see the scenery. And you fellow coming and disturbing my susu time also, he'll say. Enna correct, yeah. That fellow wants in Malay, susu means milk.
Yes.
So Haresh is thinking milk time. It's not milk time, it is susu time. Susu is you want to take a leak. So
Yes.
you get into, say, I'm sorry to say, you're getting into unnecessary details. If has that fellow waved his hand, as he saw me, all these things, you have to have that sense of proportion, a sense of taking it in that context, because if I were to say in particular way, you will take those criteria only and then act tomorrow. So I don't want to say anything. Not that you follow literally to the T what I say, but there's a possibility that we will take those criteria and then start acting. Because every situation is different. I'm only giving a context to convey a point. How that situation demands a different situation occurs, it could be very different. For example, to be very frank with you, our caretaker, she delivered a couple of days ago. And when I know that her time was coming, and I used to be very particular with her husband. That fellow, he goes to do other jobs and that lady is alone in the house. And he says, sir, my phone is not working, her phone is not working. When I call you, don't pick up the phone. What is going on? And I just visualize a possibility. Imagine I am at a class and there's an urgency that comes that that lady has to be taken to the hospital to attend to the labor pain and the need she needs to be attended. What would I do? What should I do? I'm just imagining that situation. And I used to tell, you don't know when that lady needs to go. How can you not be available? When I call you 10 times, you don't answer the call. When she called, how will you be able to attend to her need? Who is there? Wait, he doesn't have the buddhi, sadly. If he is there, he will not be where he is. Now, if I were to create that, what becomes a priority at that point? Oh, I have to teach Bhagavad Gita to an audience here or to an audience somewhere, or when a appointment comes that I have to help, I'm the only person to help her. Sometimes I'm the only person here, I'm taking a class, I'm doing some work. And that lady comes and says, sir, I need help. I'll have to drop everything as it is and rush her to the hospital. That becomes my obligatory duty. I can't say, I'm sorry, I'm teaching Bhagavad Gita, Sri Bhagavan Vacha. Even Bhagavan will not spare me to say the next word. See, you got to have that sense of alertness and sense of proportion, that special duty, naimittika karma, becomes your primary karma. That special obligatory becomes your primary obligation. I can't be unmindful of that situation, what demands you. So you got to be ever alert to take all the pros and cons and take that decision as a flash. But times the decisions can be wrong as well. But then we face the consequences. But the moment, it's like the intellect works like your reflexes. If you are a sharp driver, you will be able to avoid any eventuality. Somebody runs across. If you are a sharp, alert driver, you'll avoid. That alertness is intellectual alertness. If you are sharp intellectually, you will be able to take a decision at that point because everything is there for you to process as a flash. So I don't want to give an answer, this is what should be done, that should be done, because then it becomes a value I'm giving you. But when I tell you to apply that sense of proportion, that I can't give you. Sense of proportion is the intellect. Sense of value is knowledge. So I'm giving examples only to give you knowledge to you. I can't give you that proportion. Sorry? Ultimately, there is, as Siddhuji is saying, there is that inner conscience to check whether am I doing the right thing. You are with me, sir?
Yes, very clear, Guruji, very clear.
Yeah. So now I get, by not answering also I answered. I said I am not obliged to answer. He said very clear. All right. We'll come back and continue. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti. Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.